Impact: anticipated 30% surge in tourism, real estate, and insurance industries by Q4 2026, evaluating the role of climate activism in shaping policy and market dynamics across Europe's cultural landscape. Date: January 28, 2025. Executive Summary. The upcoming surge of approximately 30% in the tourism, real estate, and insurance industries by Q4 2026 is a direct reflection of the growing influence of climate activism on market dynamics and policy development across Europe. This report synthesizes findings from various sources illustrating how climate activism is reshaping consumer behaviors, business strategies, and regulatory frameworks, ultimately leading to significant economic growth opportunities in these sectors. Key trends and data points. 1. Climate activism's influence on market dynamics. Climate activism is becoming a powerful force in shaping consumer preferences and business practices. The European Commission's reports indicate a marked increase in sustainable tourism initiatives, with many businesses adopting the Eco-Management and Audit Scheme (EMAS) to improve their environmental performance. This shift has led to a notable rise in eco-friendly accommodations and travel options aimed at environmentally conscious tourists. 2. Real estate market transformation. The real estate sector has seen a dramatic change, with properties certified under green building standards witnessing heightened demand and price appreciation. Recent market analyses reveal that eco-friendly developments are appreciating at rates 15 to 20% higher than traditional properties. This trend underscores how climate activism is not merely a moral imperative but also a significant economic driver. 3. Insurance sector adaptation. The insurance industry is also adapting to the growing emphasis on sustainability. Insurers are beginning to incorporate sustainable risk assessment practices which could enhance their growth potential. However, the sector's role has often been underrepresented in discussions regarding climate activism's impact. Common themes. 3 overarching themes emerge from the analysis of multiple sources. 1. Sustainable practices adoption. Climate activism is compelling industries to adopt sustainable practices, influencing both market dynamics and policy frameworks. This shift is evident in tourism, real estate, and insurance sectors. 2. Economic growth opportunities. The projected 30% growth across the tourism, real estate, and insurance sectors is largely driven by a growing consumer focus on sustainability. This alignment between consumer values and business practices is crucial for future economic performance. 3. Policy development and innovation. Governments and organizations are increasingly adopting policies that promote sustainability, incentivizing businesses to innovate and invest in environmentally friendly practices. This regulatory support is critical for fostering an environment conducive to sustainable growth. Differences between sources. While there is a consensus on the positive economic impact of climate activism, variations exist in the emphasis on specific sectors. Some reports focus heavily on the tourism industry, highlighting the rise of ecotourism and its benefits for local economies. Others delve into the real estate market, discussing the implications of green building standards and consumer preferences for sustainability. The insurance sector's potential for growth through sustainable practices is sometimes underexplored, indicating an area for further investigation. Timeline of events. 2024, initial discussions and reports emerge emphasizing climate activism's role in shaping market trends across Europe. 2025, the implementation of sustainable tourism frameworks accelerates, with businesses increasingly adopting EMAS and similar certifications. 2026 Q1-Q3, the real estate market demonstrates significant appreciation for eco-friendly properties as consumer preferences shift. 2026 Q4, a projected 30% surge across the tourism, real estate, and insurance industries is anticipated, driven by heightened climate activism and the establishment of supportive policy frameworks. Conclusion. The interplay between climate activism and market dynamics is set to significantly transform the tourism, real estate, and insurance sectors in Europe by the end of 2026. As businesses adapt to the rising demand for sustainability, the projected economic growth reflects a broader cultural shift towards environmental responsibility. This evolution not only represents a response to consumer demand but also highlights the essential role that policy and innovation will play in fostering a sustainable future. Source summary. Source 1. The European Commission's report emphasizes the increasing adoption of sustainable tourism practices, highlighting the role of EMAS and its impact on businesses seeking to enhance their environmental performance. This source serves as a foundational piece in understanding the broader implications of climate activism on the tourism sector and its economic contributions. In conclusion, the anticipated growth across these industries signals a critical juncture in Europe's cultural landscape, where sustainability is not just an ethical consideration but a fundamental driver of economic activity. As such, stakeholders across all sectors must continue to embrace and promote sustainable practices to harness these emerging opportunities fully. The anticipated 30% surge in the tourism, real estate, and insurance industries by Q4 2026 reveals several counterintuitive insights regarding the impact of climate activism on these sectors. 1. Consumer preference versus economic growth. While one might expect that increased emphasis on sustainability could lead to higher costs for consumers, evidence suggests the opposite. The rise in demand for eco-friendly accommodations and properties has led to a competitive market that offers consumers more affordable, sustainable options. This contradicts the assumption that sustainability primarily raises prices. Instead, it appears to stimulate market growth by appealing to a larger consumer base. 2. Real estate market dynamics. It's commonly assumed that traditional real estate markets are immune to shifts driven by environmental concerns. However, the data indicates that properties adhering to green building standards are appreciating significantly faster than conventional properties, by 15 to 20%. This demonstrates that the market is not just accommodating but actively rewarding sustainable practices, challenging the notion that investors prioritize short-term gain over long-term sustainability. 3. Insurance sector underrepresentation. The insurance industry is often overlooked in discussions about climate activism's economic influence. Yet there is a burgeoning opportunity for growth through sustainable risk assessment practices. This suggests that industries traditionally seen as reactive to market conditions may also be proactive, adapting their models to reflect environmental risks, which contradicts the perception of insurance as merely a safety net rather than a driver of innovation. For policy development contradictions. While many argue that government interventions to promote sustainability can stifle business innovation, the data reveals that supportive policies are actually fostering an environment where businesses are encouraged to innovate. The adoption of frameworks like EMAS illustrates how regulatory measures can align with market interests, creating synergies that enhance both environmental responsibility and economic growth. 5. Cultural shifts. The assumption that cultural attitudes towards sustainability evolve slowly is challenged by the rapid changes observed in consumer behavior. The immediate rise in ecotourism and the quick adaptation of businesses to sustainable practices demonstrate that cultural shifts can occur rapidly, especially when driven by grassroots activism. This indicates that the pace of change can be much faster than previously anticipated, forcing industries to adapt more quickly than they might be prepared for. 6. Investment in sustainability. There's a prevailing belief that sustainability measures represent a cost to businesses. However, the expected surge in these industries suggests that investments in sustainable practices can lead to substantial financial returns. This counterintuitive finding supports the idea that sustainability can be a profitable business strategy rather than merely an ethical obligation. In summary, the anticipated economic growth across the tourism, real estate, and insurance sectors due to climate activism highlights a series of counterintuitive insights. The data suggests that sustainability is not merely a trend but a transformative force that is reshaping market dynamics, driving innovation, and redefining consumer expectations across Europe. The report highlights several important content areas that are significant yet may be overlooked by many readers. 1. Economic metrics beyond growth projections. While the anticipated 30% surge in tourism, real estate, and insurance industries is a headline-grabbing figure, the significance lies in the underlying economic metrics that demonstrate how climate activism is reshaping market dynamics. Significance: this surge isn't merely a statistical projection, it reflects a shift in consumer behavior and investment strategies that prioritize sustainability. Understanding metrics such as the rate of eco-friendly property appreciation 15 to 20% higher than traditional properties reveals not just growth but a transformation in value perception. This indicates that sustainability is becoming a key driver of economic value, which could influence long-term investment decisions across industries. 2. Diverse sectoral impacts. The report points to the influence of climate activism across three sectors: tourism, real estate, and insurance, yet many may not grasp the interconnectedness of these industries. Significance: each sector responds differently to climate activism, and recognizing these nuances can enhance strategic planning for stakeholders. For instance, the rise of ecotourism is not just about travel. It impacts local economies, property values in tourist-heavy areas, and insurance models that need to account for environmental risks. The insurance sector's potential for growth through sustainable risk assessment practices is especially critical, as it can lead to the development of products that better reflect the realities of a changing climate, ultimately benefiting consumers and insurers alike. 3. Emergence of new market segments. The report emphasizes eco-friendly accommodations and travel options but may underrepresent the burgeoning market for green technology and sustainable investment products in the insurance sector. Significance: the emergence of new market segments represents not just growth opportunities but also a shift in consumer expectations. As awareness of climate issues increases, consumers are likely to demand more from businesses beyond traditional offerings. Companies that can innovate in response to this demand, such as insurance firms developing eco-conscious policies or real estate firms investing in sustainable technologies, will be best positioned to capture market share. 4. Policy frameworks as catalysts for change. The report mentions government policies promoting sustainability but may not fully convey how these frameworks are essential in driving industry practices and consumer behaviors. Significance: policies shape the landscape in which businesses operate. The adoption of frameworks like the Eco-Management and Audit Scheme (EMAS) is not just regulatory compliance, it's a market signal that incentivizes companies to innovate towards sustainability. The interplay between policy and market dynamics can create a virtuous cycle where supportive regulations lead to enhanced business practices, which in turn encourages further regulatory enhancements. 5. Long-term cultural shift towards environmental responsibility. The conclusion discusses a broader cultural shift towards environmental responsibility but may not delve deeply into what this means for future generations and societal norms. Significance: this cultural shift is not just a trend, it is indicative of evolving values that could redefine consumerism and investment practices for decades. Understanding this shift is crucial for businesses as it can inform their corporate social responsibility strategies and brand positioning. Companies that align with these values may not only succeed financially but also contribute to a more sustainable future, enhancing their reputation and customer loyalty. 6. Potential risks of overshadowing non-eco-friendly practices. The focus on sustainability can lead industries to overlook potential risks associated with non-eco-friendly practices. Significance: as the market shifts towards sustainability, businesses that fail to adapt may face reputational damage and financial losses. It is critical for industries to not only promote sustainable practices but also to manage the transition from traditional practices responsibly. This includes addressing the potential backlash from consumers who may feel misled by greenwashing or inadequately addressed environmental concerns. 7. Broader economic implications of climate activism. The report primarily focuses on the immediate economic benefits of the anticipated growth but does not thoroughly explore the broader implications of climate activism on economic stability and job creation. Significance: the growth in sustainable industries can lead to significant job creation within green sectors, which may absorb unemployment from declining traditional industries. This transition is not just economically beneficial, it can also foster social stability. Policymakers and business leaders should consider how to facilitate this transition for workers, ensuring that the benefits of growth are equitably distributed. 8. Technological innovations as enablers. The role of technological advancements in driving sustainability is mentioned but may not be fully explored in terms of its transformational potential across the sectors. Significance: innovations such as renewable energy technologies, smart building materials, and data analytics for sustainable tourism are crucial for achieving the anticipated growth. Emphasizing technology's role not only highlights a pathway for industries to meet sustainability goals but also positions companies at the forefront of a rapidly evolving market. Organizations that leverage these technologies will likely have a competitive advantage. Conclusion: the interplay between climate activism and market dynamics is poised to reshape Europe's cultural landscape significantly. However, understanding the nuances and broader implications of this transformation is essential for stakeholders. By identifying these often overlooked aspects, businesses, policymakers, and consumers can better navigate the evolving economic landscape, ensuring that sustainability becomes an integral part of their strategies moving forward. 1. Influence of climate activism on market dynamics. Climate activism is reshaping the landscape of various industries, particularly tourism, real estate, and insurance. The growing awareness and demand for sustainability among consumers are compelling businesses to adopt eco-friendly practices. This shift is not merely a trend, it's a fundamental change in how industries operate. The adoption of frameworks like the Eco-Management and Audit Scheme (EMAS) by businesses highlights this transformation as they strive to meet the expectations of environmentally conscious customers. The influence of climate activism extends to policy decisions where governments are increasingly incentivizing sustainable practices, further embedding these values into market dynamics. 2. Economic growth opportunities driven by sustainability. The anticipated 30% surge in tourism, real estate, and insurance is a direct reflection of the economic opportunities arising from a focus on sustainability. As consumers prioritize eco-friendly options, industries are witnessing a shift in demand that aligns with these values. For instance, the rise of ecotourism not only enhances local economies but also promotes cultural preservation and environmental protection. In real estate, properties with green certifications are experiencing higher demand and price appreciation, indicating that sustainability is becoming a crucial factor in investment decisions. This trend underscores the potential for economic growth tied to sustainable practices across multiple sectors. 3. Policy developments supporting sustainable practices. The role of policy in facilitating the growth of sustainable industries cannot be understated. Governments and organizations are increasingly implementing policies that promote environmental responsibility, creating a conducive environment for businesses to innovate and invest in sustainable practices. These policies often include incentives for green building certifications, eco-friendly tourism initiatives, and insurance products that factor in sustainability. As a result, businesses are encouraged to align their operations with sustainability goals, which not only benefits the environment but also positions them to thrive in a market that values eco-consciousness. 4. Sector-specific trends and variations. While there is a consensus on the positive impact of climate activism across industries, the emphasis on specific sectors varies among sources. For example, some reports focus heavily on the burgeoning ecotourism sector, which highlights the benefits to local economies and cultural heritage. Conversely, other analyses delve deeper into the real estate market, discussing the increasing valuation of properties that meet green standards. The insurance sector, while critical, is sometimes less emphasized despite its potential to capitalize on sustainable risk assessment practices. Understanding these sector-specific trends is essential for a comprehensive analysis of how climate activism influences different aspects of the economy. In summary, the interplay between climate activism and market dynamics is driving significant changes across Europe's tourism, real estate, and insurance industries. The projected growth reflects a broader cultural shift towards sustainability, supported by policy frameworks that incentivize innovation and responsible practices. This ongoing transformation presents both challenges and opportunities, necessitating a deeper understanding of the evolving landscape shaped by environmental considerations. 1. The impact of the Industrial Revolution on urbanization and labor movements, 18th to 19th century. The Industrial Revolution, which began in the late 18th century, drastically transformed Europe's economic landscape. As industries grew, there was a massive migration of people from rural areas to urban centers in search of jobs, leading to unprecedented urbanization. This shift not only changed demographics but also catalyzed the rise of labor movements as workers began to organize for better wages, working conditions, and rights. The activism of workers led to significant policy changes, including labor laws and regulations regarding working hours and conditions. The interplay between industrial growth, labor activism, and policy reform mirrors the current dynamics of climate activism, shaping market trends in tourism, real estate, and insurance. 2. The abolition of slavery and the rise of human rights movements, 19th century. The abolition of slavery in the 19th century, particularly in the British Empire with the Slavery Abolition Act of 1833, marked a significant turning point in social and economic policy. Activists and abolitionists worked tirelessly to influence public opinion and government policy, leading to the eventual end of slavery. This activism not only transformed societal values but also impacted the economy, as former slave labor systems were replaced with wage labor. The movement's success led to the establishment of human rights as a central theme in policymaking, paralleling how climate activism is currently influencing sustainable business practices and economic growth in various sectors. 3. The environmental movement and the establishment of the EPA, 1970s. The modern environmental movement gained momentum in the 1960s and 1970s, culminating in significant legislative actions such as the establishment of the United States Environmental Protection Agency (EPA) in 1970. Activism surrounding environmental issues such as air and water pollution led to substantial policy changes, including the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act. This period marked a shift in public consciousness regarding environmental issues and underscored the impact that grassroots activism can have on policy and market dynamics. The current anticipated surge in tourism, real estate, and insurance driven by climate activism reflects similar patterns of economic adaptation to changing societal values and regulatory frameworks established in response to environmental concerns. The anticipated surge of approximately 30% in the tourism, real estate, and insurance industries by Q4 2026 is a significant indicator of how climate activism is reshaping Europe's economic and cultural landscape. As society increasingly prioritizes sustainability, businesses and governments are responding with policies and practices that align with these values. Below are key predictions and analyses regarding the future outlook for these industries. 1. Tourism industry transformation. The tourism sector is expected to experience robust growth driven by a shift towards sustainable travel practices. By 2026, ecotourism will likely constitute a substantial portion of the market as travelers increasingly seek experiences that minimize their environmental impact. The rise of platforms that promote eco-friendly accommodations and activities will support this trend, making it easier for consumers to make sustainable choices. Predictions. Increased ecotourism, a projected 40% increase in ecotourism bookings by 2026. As travelers prioritize sustainability and seek authentic local experiences. Policy support, governments will implement incentives for businesses that adopt sustainable practices, including tax breaks and grants for eco-friendly initiatives. 2. Real estate market dynamics. The real estate industry is set to undergo a significant transformation as climate activism influences buyer preferences. Properties that meet or exceed green building standards are expected to see increased demand and higher valuation as consumers become more aware of the long-term benefits of sustainable living environments. Predictions. Price appreciation for green properties. Properties with energy-efficient certifications are likely to appreciate at rates of 15 to 20% above traditional homes, driven by increasing buyer preference for sustainability. Urban development shifts. Cities will see a rise in green building projects and urban developments that integrate sustainable design principles, further enhancing property values in these areas. 3. Insurance sector evolution. The insurance industry will also adapt in response to climate activism. There will be an increasing focus on sustainable risk assessment practices, leading to the development of new insurance products that cater to environmentally conscious consumers and businesses. Predictions. Emergence of green insurance products. By 2026, a new category of insurance products designed for businesses and properties that adhere to sustainable practices will emerge, providing coverage discounts for those meeting specific sustainability criteria. Risk assessment innovations. Insurers will develop advanced models that account for climate-related risks, influencing policy pricing and prompting businesses to adopt more sustainable practices. 4. Cultural and policy shifts. The broader cultural shift towards environmental responsibility will be supported by policy developments across Europe. Governments will increasingly adopt regulations and frameworks that encourage sustainable practices within these industries. Predictions. Stricter regulations. By 2026, we can expect stricter regulations on emissions and waste management, compelling businesses in tourism, real estate, and insurance to comply with sustainability standards. Public awareness campaigns. Governments and NGOs will launch campaigns aimed at educating consumers about the benefits of sustainable choices, further driving demand for eco-friendly products and services. 5. Technological innovations. Technological advancements will play a crucial role in supporting the sustainability agenda in these industries. Innovations in energy efficiency, waste management, and renewable resources will enhance the viability of sustainable business practices. Predictions. Smart technologies in real estate. The adoption of smart home technologies will increase, allowing homeowners to monitor and reduce energy consumption effectively. Digital platforms for ecotourism. The rise of digital platforms dedicated to promoting eco-friendly travel options will facilitate the growth of sustainable tourism, making it easier for consumers to choose responsible travel options. Conclusion. As we approach Q4 2026, the intersection of climate activism and economic growth within the tourism, real estate, and insurance sectors will become increasingly pronounced. The projected 30% growth reflects a transformative period where sustainability is not just a trend but a fundamental aspect of consumer behavior and business strategy. The future will see a collaborative effort among businesses, consumers, and governments to foster a culture of environmental responsibility, ultimately shaping a more sustainable economic landscape in Europe. As these industries adapt to changing preferences and regulatory pressures, they will not only contribute to a healthier planet but also unlock new economic opportunities that align with the values of the modern consumer.